Okay, with me being out and us needing some more practice with this, we're going to take a quick break for Module 5 and just spend a day reviewing some things on rational expressions, which are very important for some things we're going to do this year and especially next year. So I'm going to just do a few key problems here. This one you should have done. If it's not, make sure to fill it in and to finish it. I would like both assignments 1 and 2 done by the next time that we meet. So the first thing I want to do is number 5. I want to jump in on this because this is something that we really didn't talk about. I think we came across it once and we didn't include it on the test, but it is important nonetheless. So I want to talk about this little watch out box here. So this watch out box tells us how to handle this particular situation when it arises. So we're going to follow our steps. And what I like about this is you always have these steps at the top that tell you how to do the problem. So the first step is factor out anything that can be factored. So if I'm looking at the bottom, I can see there's nothing I can do to factor 7 minus p. But I can factor p squared minus 49 to p minus 7, p plus 7. Okay, and what's going to happen now is that's going to be over 7 minus p. Now, it would appear that this and this could be part of our simplifying and eliminating of common binomial factors. They are binomial factors, but they're not quite common, and you can probably see how they're just a little bit different. So this is what we need to do over here. So if we have a minus b over b minus a, you need to rewrite b minus a as a minus b, but that's not enough because a minus b and b minus a aren't the same. So what you do is you factor out a negative 1 from the bottom. And you can see how if I go negative 1 times a, I get negative a. And if I go negative 1 times negative b, I get b. And now the expressions are equal and they are in the proper order. So taking that to the problem that we have over here, I'm going to take 7 minus p. I'm going to rewrite it as p minus 7. And I'm going to factor out a negative 1 in front. So rewriting that into the entire problem, I have p minus 7, p plus 7 over negative 1, p minus 7. And now that everything is in the correct order, I can eliminate my common binomial factors. And I have p plus 7 over negative 1. So that is just going to be the same thing as negative 1 p plus 7. Or if you're more comfortable with looking at it as this, that's also just as correct. Okay, going on to 8 now. So 8, again, we're going to factor anything that we can. So I can see the top has a common factor of 5. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 parentheses 9 minus w over 3w squared minus 28w plus 9. Okay. So the tough part about this is that you have to deal with it when it is not equal to 1. You have to factor this when it isn't equal to 1. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this, okay? And this is a video that I'll post to YouTube so you can play this back later if you want to. And some of you guys already know how to do it. So I'm going to take this area over here. And I'm going to start it just like I would if it was 1. And I'll end up erasing this because I'm taking up too much room. But I multiply a and c, and I get 27. And then b, so it starts just the same, okay? You might have thought we were just writing c up there, but what you're really doing is you're writing the product of a and c. When a is 1, you're just writing c. But you have to multiply a and c together and find something that multiplies to 27. and adds the negative 28, which is negative 27 and negative 1. So what you do is, you can't just write x minus 27, x minus 1. That's what you do when a is equal to 1. When a is not equal to 1, you split the b term into those two numbers. So it would be rewritten like this, which is the exact same expression, except I split negative 28w into these two items here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor them 2 by 2. So if I factor the greatest common factor, the first two is 3w, and I'm going to rewrite that as parentheses w minus 9, because 3 times w is 3w squared, and 3w times negative 9 is negative 27w. And then I'm going to factor the other one, and only a 1 comes out of the next one. And then I'm going to have w minus 9, because when I distribute this negative 1, it equals this up here. And then we have done this earlier in the year. I know it wasn't on the last test, but we learned that the factored form is the 2 on the outside, so 3w minus 1, and then one of the ones that repeats, w minus 9. So that's what this is factored, 3w minus 1 and w minus 9. So let's just say for a moment that you can't figure that out. So another route that you could take is, and I'm not going to take the time to do it, but you could plug it into the quadratic formula where a is 3 and b is negative 28 and c is 9, and you can solve for the roots. And when you do that, you would get, I'm confident in your math and the quadratic formula, you would get x is equal to 1/3 and 9. And from that, you could write this. You'd have to picture a binomial where 1/3 is the answer, which is 3w minus 1, and where 9 is the answer, which is w minus 9. Either technique will work. But you can see here, we have the same situation going on where they seem to match, but they don't quite match. So we have to remember what we did in the previous problem. So the pink numerator, we have to factor a negative 1 out of the top, which would give me negative 5 parentheses w minus 9, because that's going to turn it into an equivalent expression. Picture yourself foiling or distributing this to 45 minus 5w. Well, this would also give me 45 minus 5w, or negative 5w plus 45, same thing. And that's going to be over 3w minus 1, w minus 9. So now we've factored everything, and now we have to simplify and cross out binomial factors. And there's the answer. Okay, I wanted to handle those tricky ones and then go down and do just a couple others. Okay, so for this one, for 15, I need to factor anything that I can. So I can tell that all 4 things can be factored here. So the top left is divisible by 2a squared, parentheses a minus 6. This times this is 2a to the third. This times this is negative 12a squared. And that's going to be over this factored, which we're getting pretty good at, which would be x minus 6, x plus 2. And that's we're going to switch the division to multiplication. And remember, we have to switch this one. Okay? So the numerator is going to be this. And the denominator, well, what can I factor into these two? Well, the number 4 divides into both of them. And a squared divides into both of them, which would then give me what? 6a Oh no, not 6a. Just 6, because 4a squared times 6 is 24a squared minus 2a. Hold on. I can tell there's a mistake. Let me stop here and show you how I could spot this. When I look at this binomial, I can still tell that I could factor 2 out of those. This means I did not factor out the greatest common factor. 4 is a common factor. But what's the greatest common factor of 24 and 8? It's not 4. It's the number 8. So 8a squared times 3 is going to give me 24a squared. And then that's going to be minus a. Okay? And I just noticed I wrote x's in here too. So I get used to using x on all the problems. So this is also a. So the only variable is a. Okay. Very good. Now we have to multiply them together. Remember, they don't have to have common denominators here because it's multiplication. So I would have 2a squared, a minus 6, a minus 3, a minus 5, over oh, I made those x's too, didn't I? They're all a's. Okay. So I want to glance back at the instructions now. Remember how the instructions had that second step? Simplify the monomials using exponent rules. So we finally ran into one here where we need to do that. So we need to simplify these exponents on the outside. So let's write the answer in red. So 2/8 is a fourth. And those two cancel. Those two cancel. And I can tell I have this thing going on again here where I have this and this. So remember, this is going to be a minus 3. Let's take this real slow. A minus 5. And then on the bottom I have a plus 2. And then I'm going to factor out a negative 1 and make this a minus 3. This is my factoring out of the negative 1. Okay, so now I can see that they are in the proper order. And I'm allowed to get out my erasing pen. And I'm able to cross out my binomial factors. And I'm finished. So it's negative 1/4 a minus 5 over a minus 2. Okay, or I would look at it even more like a minus 5 over negative 4 times a plus 2. And that's a pretty tough one there. Okay, I don't think I have time to get in the other problems I want to do in this video, so I will make a video